To roll with the first of two qualifying heats in the Winston Racing Series late model Pro Stocks. On the pole, it'll be car number 45, Chuck Hebing from Williamson, New York, the Chuck's Auto Refinishing Special. On the outside, the 27 of Bob Kaminsky from Elma. Third, it'll be number 55, Eddie Anker from Pavilion. Car number 28, Eldon King from Delavan. 04, Danny Mason from Webster. Next in line, it's car number 36, pulling into formation, Tommy Richards from Fairport. Heavy damage on the right side of Tom Richards' car due to an accident during the practice period. Buck Catalano, car number 54, Paul Ackerson in 73, and Joe Bandel in car number 11 make up the starting lineup for this first 10-lap qualifying heat for the late models. Chuck Hebing on the inside of that front row, driving car number 45 with Bob Kaminsky on the outside in 27. Eddie Anker in 55, Eldon King in 28, Danny Mason in 04, Tom Richards in 36, Buck Catalano in the 00, Paul Ackerson in 73, Joe Bandel in 11 as they hot-lap them to work a little dry all into the track and get ready for the start of this event. White flag being shown to the field. They say, put them in formation. Let's get ready to pull green the next time by. Chuck Hebing setting the pace on the inside of row number 1, driving car number 45 alongside. It's car number 27 of Bob Kaminsky. Second row on the inside, Eddie Anker in 55, Eldon King on the outside in 28, 04, Danny Mason, 54, Buck Catalano. Car number 36, Tommy Richards, Paul Ackerson in the Pepsi 73, and Joe Bandel in 11. They're out of turn 4. The green flag flies as the first qualifier for the Winston Racing Series. Late models gets underway. And as they head off that second turn, onto the back straightaway, Chuck Hebing has the lead. Eddie Anker's gone from third up to second. Here comes Danny Mason down on the inside to try to take over that third spot as they bunch them together out of that fourth turn and down the main straightaway. Up into turn number 1 and 2, and the 45 of Chuck Hebing continues to lead. Hebing is the leader with Anker running second. Danny Mason has now moved into the third spot. Back in the fourth position is the 27 of Bob Kaminsky, and he's now followed very closely by Buck Catalano, car number 54. Eldon King going backwards through the pack. Eldon had a good starting spot, but he's not hooked up properly tonight as his car is going back in the formation. The 27 of Kaminsky slows down on the backstretch. Here comes Catalano alongside him, and he's got Tommy Richards in 36 hooked up with him as they come by, and we've got a spin in turn number 4 as Joe Bandel is spun over there in turn 4, gets restarted, coast down the banking, out of the way, but take a look at that lead battle as they head for turn number 3. Danny Mason up on the outside of the banking through turn number 4 onto the main straightaway. Moves up the challenge for the lead as they set up for turn number 1 and 2. Chuck Hebing down on the inside still has the lead with car number 45. Anker gives him a shot down on the inside in 55. Can't get by. Danny Mason takes advantage of that to move up high on the outside, but Mason loses room on the racetrack, and Buck Catalano takes the Miller 54 down on the low side to move into the third position. Once again, Chuck Hebing and Eddie Anker locked up in a battle for that second position, and they've got Buck Catalano, Danny Mason, and Tommy Richards all tucked right in behind them as they come off turn 4. They're down the main straightaway into turn number 1 and 2, and the 45 car of Chuck Hebing out of Williamson, New York, continues to show the way. Hebing up in front. Anker is second. In the battle for third is Catalano on the inside, Mason on the outside, Richards ready to move up at the slightest opportunity. 5 in a bunch down the main straightaway into turn number 1 and 2. Out of that second turn, onto the back straightaway. Catalano twitches a little bit, loses some bite. Mason has picked up room on the racetrack from him. He moves in to challenge Eddie Anker with 2 laps to sort them out as they head for turn number 1 and 2. Hebing still is the leader in 45. Anker holding second. Mason is third, and Catalano runs fourth. They're side by side for that second spot as they set up for turn number 3 and 4. Anker drifts up the racetrack. That takes that lane away from the 04 of Danny Mason. Mason goes back up on the outside trying to get by Anker for second. Moving out of turn 2, down the back straightaway. Chuck Hebing still has the lead. Eddie Anker is second. Danny Mason runs third. Buck Catalano fourth. A 4-car freight train as they come out that fourth turn, down the main straightaway. And Chuck Hebing is the leader, car number 45. Hebing wins it in 45. Second is the 55 of Eddie Anker. Danny Mason captures third, and Buck Catalano comes home fourth. First 1988 checkered flag at Holland International Speedway and the Chuck's Auto refinishing special. How about a nice round of applause for number 45, Chuck Hebing. Second 10-lap qualifier, Winston Racing Series late models now reports on the speedway. On the pole, car number 65, George Scora from Eden. On the outside of the front row, car number 7, Art Clark from West Seneca. Second row on the inside, car number 9, Sonny Whitmire from Glenwood. On the outside, number 80, Big John Thurber from Springfield. Third row on the inside, number 48, the points leader here at Holland Speedway in this division, Rick Wiley from Derby, driving the Falone Trucking, number 48. On the outside, car number 34, Dave Whitaker. Next on the inside is Tommy Keys in the Miller 00. On the outside, it's the Old Man Engineering, car number 09 of John Juliker. Car number 86, the Previty Auto Wrecking Perry Ice Cream car driven by Gary Schwab from Delavan. And our midseason champion of Holland Speedway driving the A.W. Dye Insurance Genesee Beer Wagon, number 33, Dick Flagg from Eggertsville. This is the starting lineup for the second Winston Racing Series late model qualifying heat. They're going to get the 1 to go sign this time by. The white flag shown to the field. That's the air heating number 65 of George Scora up there in the pole position. Art Clark on the outside in the Gordon car number 7. The number 9 of Sonny Whitmire back in that third position as they head down the back straightaway. Point standings find Rick Wiley in the lead in 48, followed by Dick Flagg, Gary Schwab, John Thurber, and Art Clark and John Juliker. Those are your top 6 in Holland Speedway points up till tonight. Out of that fourth turn, onto the main straightaway. The green flag is out, and the second late model heat is underway, and one car is showing sparks into the turn number 1. George Scora shows the way down the back straightaway into turn number 3 and 4. Art Clark back in the second spot. A 3-car battle for third between Rick Wiley, Sonny Whitmire, and Big John Thurber as they head for turn number 1 and 2. In that turn, now on the back straightaway, and George Scora has the lead in car number 65. Scora in the lead. A heavy challenge from Art Clark in 7 and John Thurber in 80 as Thurber has moved into that third position, moving Sonny Whitmire back to 4th with car number 9. Heavy traffic as they head into turn number 1 and 2 with George Scora still in front. Scora has gone up on the outside lane, and Art Clark is trying to pass him on the inside. Clark gets into him. We got a pile up, turn number 3 and 4. And the 9 of Sonny Whitmire spins into the infield. Big John Thurber is down in there, and the caution flag is out. The caution is on the speedway. And the number 65 of Scora has got some damage on there. Scora was up on the outside. Art Clark tried to get by him on the inside. They collided over there in turn number 3 and 4. And it looks like everybody in that mishap is able to get running once again. Looks like they're all going to be able to come back out and run. And they all got out ahead of the leader, so they're all on the same lap. They're all on the lead lap. As you can see, the front air dam off Art Clark's car is locked into the back bumper on George Scora's car number 65. One to go is the signal this time by. 1 to go till the green flag comes out. George Scora has the lead, car number 65. Dave Whitaker in the second spot in the 34. Back in third, 48, Rick Wiley. And Gary Schwab has done a nice job of getting up in that fourth spot with car number 86. They're followed by Dick Flagg in 33, Tommy Keys in the 00. Moving out of that fourth turn, they head for the starting line. The chief starter looks them over. The green flag waves. They're 3 abreast in that drag race into turn number 1 and 2, and the sheet metal is slapping together as they head through the turn. Out of that second turn, down the back straightaway. George Scora in front. Whitaker gives him a wrap on the rear bumper. They're working upstairs, and Rick Wiley says, let's try the inside lane as he comes out of that fourth turn and down the main straightaway. Wiley on the inside, Gary Schwab on the outside in that battle for third, while George Scora works way up by the guardrail as they head down the back straightaway into that turn number 3 and 4, with Dave Whitaker pushing that front air dam from Art Clark's car right further into the rear bumper of George Scora's car number 65. Scora has the lead as they head out of that second turn down the back straightaway. Scora and Whitaker run that middle groove, then tuck down low. Rick Wiley trying to run the lower inside route all the way around the speedway, trying to move up on the leaders, and it looks like he is going to draw alongside of Dave Whitaker, car number 34. Out of their number 2 turn, down the back straightaway. Wiley gets to the inside of Whitaker as they set up in the turn. Wiley gets a little bit out of shape through turn number 3 and 4. That drops him out of the pace into the infield, and that gives clear sailing to George Scora in 65. Dave Whitaker in car number 34 holds that second spot. Gary Schwab is now third in 86, and Dick Flagg has moved into the 4th position with 33. Art Clark is now 5th, and he's being challenged by Big John Thurber in car number 80. Down the main straightaway as they've been given the 2 to go signal, and the battle is for that second position. Gary Schwab on the inside, Dave Whitaker right in front of him, Dick Flagg on the outside. George Scora with about a 5-car lead on the rest of that tight battle for second position as they head for turn number 1 and 2. George Scora has the lead. Gary Schwab is now taken over the second spot. Take a look at this battle for second as they head for turn number 3 and 4. They work their way out of that 4th turn. They head for home. George Scora wins it. Gary Schwab is second. Dick Flagg is third. Dave Whitaker is 4th in an outstanding automobile race that was just presented for you here at Holland Speedway. Well, the next event should be, I believe, the Challenger Feature. Challenger Feature should be the next event, but right now it's time to greet the winner of the second late model qualifying heat. He's pulling into victory lane. He's driving the air heating car number 65. Let's hear it for George Scora. Next event will be the feature race.